guys, welcome back to the Latte Foam podcast. It's Kayla and Yana, and we're going to be talking about some interesting new topics that have been arising in the Otome community, talking about the new game, the Ssum, that's out from Chariots. It's been their first game in so many years. We'll be addressing and talking about some things we found on the Twitter space regarding the new game Arcana. It's a Korean game, and we will also be talking about the scandalous PQube and some of the things that have been arising there. So we're super excited to get into it.
Yes, today is the news episode, and then we'll also do a little segment at the end where we talk about what we're currently playing to fill out this podcast. Kicking it off with our first topic. Our first Otome news topic is a new mobile Otome game that came out called Arcana Twilight. Let me just pull up their little description. It's by Story Taco Inc., and it says, "Let's connect the stars together, meet the charming sorcerers in the mesmerizing place of Arcana Twilight." So it's kind of about being in a school-like setting, and all the love interests are sorcerers. Now, what has been newsworthy about this game's release is the fact that their UI looks literally identical to Obey Me, a very, very popular, probably the most popular to date gacha-style Otome game on the market. And there's an entire Twitter thread, which we're going to put on the screen, and I'm actually going to screen share with Jan, because you'll notice we're actually in two different locations this time. This is our first, remote podcast. She's in San Fran, and I am in Phoenix. But let me screen share so she can see too and kind of comment on this, because this thread is crazy. It literally breaks down every single menu. So let me present.
Yeah, you actually found it too by I think you sent it to me, and it was this random thing, and you kept saying doesn't it look familiar? And then you had sent me their Twitter, and I was I have no idea what this is, but I've seen it before. It made me think of Star-Crossed Myth. That's what I first originally thought, and that's what we were originally going off of, and then some other stuff came about, and so yeah.
So before this even happened, I remember clocking it for the Obey Me thing, not seeing the menus, but just their Instagram, because they had the sheep, and they had the outfits.
Oh yeah.
And I was sending you screenshots, and you were yeah, and you're it also makes me think of Star-Crossed Myth, and we were just kind of what's the game going to be like? It finally dropped, and then this huge Korean thread came out, which even though we can't speak Korean, the images speak for themselves. So I'm just going to pull one up, the first one here. So this is Arcana, and this is Obey Me. Dude.
Spot the difference.
What is the difference?
Have you seen that meme where it's these are the same pictures? That's the vibe that I got. It's definitely...
It's that meme. It's all the Spider-Mans pointing at each other meme. Let's go through a few more just so you can see. So here's Obey Me. Here's Arcana. The stars, the little icons, the twofold, it's the same.
Yeah, you can't even say this is heavily inspired. This is directly, they clearly took Obey Me and then just put different characters in and changed a few things, and that's super ridiculous.
It's literally the same UI. They have the same size GIFs and chat things you can use. It's
oh no,
literally so bad. I'm gonna keep going through them so we can just and I'll have them on the screen for you guys. There's the little storybook so you can read through it, and there's books as well for Obey Me here. And then,
you can't even tell which one is which sometimes. I'm not sure which is Obey Me and which is Arcana, and that's scary.
Me either. Literally, it's so similar. Let me go to, I think there's one more. Oh, there's two more. They literally clocked them for every single screen. It's when you get a gacha. I mean, it's so similar.
Yeah, and the thread that you're showing, it was basically fans, obviously, and then understandably, outraged, because again, not that things obviously can't overlap, but you had kind of made a good point, and I'll let you obviously elaborate because I don't want to mince your words. You were saying it's one thing to be inspired, but as a fan of or a fandom of any game, when you see something like this blatant, almost thieving kind of thing, you get upset.
Yeah, so I don't have a super strong opinion on it. Well, I do kind of as a developer. As a developer, I don't like it. I'm not an Obey Me fan though, because a lot of Obey Me fans are mad because they're you just copied the game. But the question that I would pose to you guys is, do you think it's okay to copy something once it's popular enough? Because obviously whenever it's an indie game, people are always why are you stealing from them? Like, they haven't even made it yet. 100% agree with that. I even agree that no matter how big you are, like, I don't want to influence your guys' opinion, but just because it's massive, Obami's making millions of dollars a month, is it okay then for copycats to come along and kind of ride the coattails?
Yeah, and I know that there's things that, like, there are, like, a different version of things like that, and I understand that, but I feel like, yeah, from a developer's perspective, I just think that this is just lazy. It's not even the fact that you took the concept and maybe made it your own. Like, that's its own thing. Like, there's a bunch of Edo period games. There are Mafia games. Like, those are things that obviously it's not just, Obami doesn't own vampires and whatever, but there's a very blatant just laziness of it because it doesn't seem like you put into that much creativity. And I haven't played the game, so, and I'm not planning to. I just, from even just an aesthetic perspective, it's like, I feel like that is kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah, because we've played neither game. We know Obami is like the demon vibe and this is a sorcerer vibe, so it's kind of like the underrealm and then like the heaven realm of the same thing, like the Department of Punishments versus the Department of Wishes, we kind of compared it to.
But when you think of like other games, so like here's a good comparison to games that obviously have similar UIs but totally different concepts and there's no confusion. Tears of Themis and Mr. Love are this a very similar UI style. They're vertical, right? That's vertical, not horizontal.
Yeah.
Vertical. They, you know, they have the like 3-star things is not new. A3 has done that. A lot of games, mobile games have done that. So that's not unique in any way, but you know when you're in Mr. Love, and then you definitely know the difference between, you know, Tears of Themis. There's no confusion. They're completely separate. Another comparison that I would say, what I think you had brought it up. I don't know. There's like there's several games out there that it's just, they're very clearly different.
It literally looks like Story Taco, which again, the developers Story Taco aren't small either. They're smaller, but they produce tons of games. They produce like American style apps. They basically just hop on whatever's popular and try to make as much money as they can. That's the kind of company that they appear to be to me. And it seems like they said, look, Obami's really popular, and they literally just took screenshots of every image, sent it to a developer that they outsourced, and were like, make me the same thing. And that's literally what they got, whereas we had compared it to Twisted Wonderland, which we also believe only came about due to the success of Obami, because Disney's that kind of company. They're going to want to make money wherever they can. They saw the success of Obami, and they said, let's make it our own. And that's what bothers me about what Story Taco did here.
And again, you can definitely take conceptual things, but you know, it needs to be more uniquely your own. It just didn't come across. It came off very unauthentic. The color scheme, all of that. Again, you can be heavily inspired. A good example of this is out there. It's the game called Yakuza. They directly said that they took controls and things from Persona 5, giving the credit where credit's clearly due, and it just seems very fake and inauthentic, and it just is like, to me personally, it's going to get no play out of me. I'm not going to play a game that clearly is stealing content. Like, that's what it looks like.
And a lot of people are just like, oh, it's another game just like this, which we'll get into the Ssum a little bit later. Obviously, the Ssum is not stealing from itself because, like, Mystic Messenger is the same. But we do see this a lot where it's like when somebody loves a concept, they are going to want to do it. They like the fact that you had those interactive texts and things with Mystic Messenger, even though the Ssum is generally perceived to be not as good. People are still eating it up and buying it, even though it's maybe not worth it, the money. And I think that's what's happening with Arcana.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like Gacha already is just kind of just not technically, in my opinion, worth it. Nothing wrong with that if you play it and you like the cards. I just feel like you should definitely get more for what you're spending. But if that's your style of game, or you like that you get a lot more content in the photos, that's totally, I completely understand that. It's just not something that, you know, Kayla and I would do. Speaking of kind of just not paying for, obviously not the greatest example of companies, and let's move it into our next topic, unless you have more to add.
The last thing I want to add before you go to the next topic is just the fact that we're calling it Otome, because I know a lot of people are like, no, it's TokiMeki. Hey, it's Kayla from the future here. I don't think I explained my point that well here, so I'm just re-recording it. I wanted to mention why we consider Arcana and Obami as Otome games, since it's sort of a contentious point within the Western Otome community. Reason being is Otome literally translates to maiden in Japanese, and as such, in Japan, as far as I can tell, that means anything targeted towards a feminine audience is Otome. As proof, you can see here on this Japanese website, archiving DS games categorized as Otome, any game that a girl or feminine person might like is on the list. Even fashion games, which doesn't even have romance. I think Otome is a great all-encompassing term, and things can get even more specific from there, like High School Love Simulator, which is used to describe TokiMeki Girl Side, or Josemuke Adventure for a game like Hakuoki. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say. Back to the video.
All right, so if you have been on Twitter, if you've been, or if you purchased last year the game Bust of Fellows and there was an announcement of a season 2, Bust of Fellows did really, really well, but attributing to their success was actually their publishing team on the Western market, which was PQube. They were blowing up. The game did really, really well here in the Western market. That's why they got the second, season of the game, or I guess if you want to say a second game. Either way, however, recently, and as Kayla and I have even looked for publishers ourselves, we saw some concerning tweets, and I'll definitely share my screen. We were scrolling on Twitter a couple weeks ago, or I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, I can't remember. However, I saw this tweet come up, and it's an image. It's from Toge Productions. It's an indie developing company, and basically they've been in production making a game called A Space for the Unbound. Post it up, you can pause it. It's just saying, we're sad to announce that we'll be delaying the release of A Space for the Unbound until further notice. Earlier this year, we discovered that PQ Games, a UK-based publisher, and just to pause, it's actually based in Asia as well. The UK probably does the Western marketing and the Western publishing. I'll kind of get into a little bit of like that splitting up, because we have talked about it previously in another video. When you hire publishing in the Western market and European market, you have to actually hire a completely separate team can do all that marketing side for you. But anyway, so the team was left feeling manipulated and exploited, and they actually had to terminate the agreement with them at the height of the pandemic back in 2020. PQ Games used our position, it says, our heritage, and our developing from Indonesia to obtain a diversity fund, and it was a grant fund intended to help underrepresented game developers, especially during the pandemic. However, instead of giving said funds to the developers as the grant was intended, PQube intentionally withheld information about the grant and used it as leverage for their own commercial gain. And rather than paying the grant money to the developers, PQube Games hid the facts about the grant's award and it added it to its recoupable minimum guarantee, and then used it to negotiate the increase of their revenue share. They have only uncovered the true amount of these funds and intended purposes back in March of this year, earlier this year, so March 2022, and they are of course upset about this. So yeah, you can pause and read more about that. They've been working on this game for 7 years, and to be taken advantage obviously in such a way would be devastating. I can't even imagine my life's work, any work that I've done, especially for that extensive amount of time, to be taken advantage of.
I also want to say, just on that previous one, I know they're a small team from Indonesia, and their game is about a boy in Indonesia, and it's set in the 90s, and it kind of has a really cool vibe to it. And I'm just so disappointed to hear that, because it sounds like something that would sadly be commonplace, where company owners are like, oh, we have this group of people that could get funds that work for us, so we're, as the company, gonna apply to get those funds, take them and benefit for ourselves, and not allocate that grant money to the people who actually qualified us for it in the first place. And that's just really shady.
Yeah, I definitely think that's just not something that you should do. And as a company that's obviously has their own funds, making their own money, to do something to a company that's smaller, that's just trying to make it and do something with their passion project, to do something so vile, and for them not to know for a amount of a year and a half, basically, is just awful experience. And then, I thought, okay, this is, and not that it was okay that it happened to this one company, but I'm like, okay, it happened to them. Let's dive deeper and see if it happened to other companies. And apparently, and then as this article shows, it has. The Arcana Blade 2 developer outright accused PQube of withholding payment again and publishing rights. Basically, going through the argument, and we'll touch the article below, not going into too much detail. The same situation basically happened. They were withholding money, and then actually said that they would give the funds if the developers basically kept quiet about all of this occurring, which to me already is just so disgusting and vile as a company. You're a public face, and you kind of integrated yourself in the community with Bust of Fellows and any game, to be fair. People like you, trust you, think this is super cool to see, and then to see that you're stealing from developers is just insane. Because again, with publishers and stuff, this stuff when you sign a deal, you go in with, wanting your hopes to, and dreams to kind of occur. And when it gets like stolen from you and you are basically left in a contract with them, like, I have nothing to gain from this now, and now I'm kind of stuck with them. Like, what do? Nothing. You kind of either walk away, take the L, and you kind of have to do both. So I think that's kind of just sucky.
And that second one, too, I want to mention, what's crazier about that story is rather than it being like a supplementary grant situation, this one was almost, I don't want to say worse because that diminishes the other people's occurrence, but in this case, they were given a signing amount that they were supposed to receive for signing the publishing deal, and they only paid part of their signing amount and never paid them the rest. And that's crazy because it's like, we all signed contracts that you would give me, let's say $30,000, and you gave me $3,000. I need the extra $17,000 because now I'm locked in this contract and I don't have the money to proceed with the development, which is a huge issue. And PQube actually responded to that one, basically saying, like, we actually did reach out to them and try to give them payment, but they weren't responding to us, which doesn't really make sense because if someone's reaching out to you trying to give you money that you deserve, you're going to be responsive. So I don't know, it's kind of he said, she said on that one, but I tend to err on the side of believing developers, obviously, and they seemed like the ones that have the most to lose in the situation. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard because we've been looking into potentially publishing options since we want to release things on the Switch in the future. And PQube was one of the ones we looked at because of Best of Fellows. And Best of Fellows is getting a season 2. I don't know if they're going to continue working with PQube. Maybe they had a great situation with them. But it's just scary as a developer trying to navigate your way forward with these companies because you need them. But at the same time, it just seems like if there's a way you can do it on your own, that's always the better way.
So I hope that, Best of Fellows doesn't go through that same thing, because they're a little bit bigger of a company now. But at the same thing, even a major company, you don't want to see them get kind of screwed. It kind of reminds me of the Cooking Mama debacle of things. Like,
that was crazy.
They got screwed out of their own thing by their other team of it. So these things happen all the time, even on bigger scale companies. For a company to go out publicly and say, like, well, no, we try to pay them, they're just not answering. Like, that's, that there's no truth into that. I just don't believe that. They obviously, the first deal went through fine, so now the second one to not go smoothly and to be kind of screwed out of your money leads me to believe that, like, the first time they probably don't know what they got, screwed out of. So I don't know. I just don't like shady dealings like that. And the best way to kind of teach PQube the lesson is to basically not continue to buy products from them, because when you do, it just gives them the justification that they can get away with it and continue to do what they want.
And then of the same token, though, the reason why that's so tough is that's hurting the indie developers that they work with, because now they're not getting sales and they're not going to be able to keep their business afloat. But because PQube is leached onto these indie developers, they're now going to get a payday if we want to support said indie developers. So it's hard. I would just say sharing the news and getting the word out about it maybe will make them realize that, because that's usually the only way, is for companies to get bad press. They're not going to stop what they're doing unless they're found out and the bad press is happening. And hopefully, and with that word being spread, no future indie game companies are going to want to sign with them, because I know we definitely do not want to sign with them after hearing this news.
Yeah, absolutely will not fall into that trap. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. The best way is I still want to obviously support all indie developers, other developers who have clearly work hard for the game, but definitely hammering home that PQube is predatory. Don't go with this, and maybe hopefully it'll help them shape up when they're doing kind of just shitty and shoddy stuff.
Yeah, shape up or ship out.
Speaking of shoddy, that's going into our last topic, which is about the new Chariots game.
Chitties, that's what I think. Yeah, Chitties.
The Ssum. So
Forbidden Lab.
Yeah. So, okay, I just want to give a history. Chitties has been around for a really, really long time. I remember the first game that I've experienced with Chitties was on Steam. You had showed it to me when we were living together back long time ago. We still live together now, but it was when we first ever moved in together for the first time, and it was
Dandelion.
Not Nameless. It was Dandelion. I love Dandelion, not just for the romance side of it. There was the interactive, you can go to work, you can earn money, you can go on dates. You were dating the guys who were in this time bunny form, and then they turn into men. Like, I liked all that. I also played Nameless. I liked the plot twist in it. You get to go to school, like all these other things. And then of course the most popular, Mystic Messenger. I just want to say, and you can obviously chime in, it was so iconic. The opening was iconic. The music was so great. The characters were all unique. I liked the choices. I liked that you could have the photos, and I liked that you had to email people to get them to go to the party. I obviously think that we've done a video about how we felt like the MC was kind of, you know, an airhead, but I liked all of it. I liked the cutscenes. I liked that it was vertical. You got the messages in like the middle of the night. There was so much to it. And then I went into the expectation of the Ssum that they would be the same way, and that was like, I was so disappointed.
Yeah, so Mystic Messenger came out in like 2015, I believe, when we last looked it up. And this was before Obey Me. This was before Mr. Love. This was like the premiere. Voltage was all there was pretty much on mobile. And when this came out, it was so highly anticipated. It actually grew my channel a ton. It's the most viewed video on my channel to date, is my initial playthrough of it. It has like 600,000 views or something like that. And so many people found my channel from that. I ended up having to remove like the rest of the videos after that because the company didn't want it on there. But neither here nor there, it was super popular. It like created a whole new batch of Otome game players. I know there was a lot of Anitubers that talked about it. I know Akidiris was one who made like a whole video about 707, and that got like millions of views. It was just huge. It was iconic. It was amazing. And because of that, they've kind of just ridden off the coattails of that success, only releasing additional content for Mystic Messenger for many, many years now. A few years after the release, though, they did announce that they were working on another project, which we've come to find out is the Ssum. It ended up taking them many years more than they said that it would initially, that they initially thought, which that can happen. That's totally fine. And Mystic Messenger was supporting them. We've searched up their numbers, and they made 7 figures a month for a long time, and even to this day make 6 figures a month, which is amazing, on top of like merch and stuff. Like, that's just from the game, like money getting from the app and stuff like that. But the Ssum, so high expectations because of Mystic Messenger, and it fell very, very flat for a lot of people. It was a huge thing on Otome Tweet. Everybody was tweeting their reactions to it, pissed off about the pricing of certain things. I don't know if you want to go into that, like kind of the pricing model that was presented, or...
Yeah, so essentially there's, when I say like nickel dime paywalls, they're everywhere. So you go into the game and that's its own confusing thing. But when you get to somewhere to pay, you actually have to pay for photos, to unlock the photos, to view the photos in the convo, which I thought was weird. There's a subscription, and it's like, I think it's $70 for 3 months, which I would think is totally insane.
Yeah, I think the cheapest option is like $22 a month is the cheapest thing. And This is the first time, maybe I'm wrong because I don't really play Obey Me or anything, but there's not another app with a subscription service like this, is there?
No, I don't think so. Again, I'd have to like really look, but this was what like was off-putting to me with it. It was that like you would just sign up for this like in the idea that you would use that, and like I know part of it is to get like the photos and like maybe unlock where you can have a private account. Again, we didn't play it long enough. I was bored and I was confused and it was not user friendly. But then like to speed up the to speed up the conversations and stuff. But what I remember is you log into the game because you had Kayla had texted me. So Kayla texted me and she was like, okay, so I guess they released the game and I wanted to see for myself because she was like, I just don't kind of get it and it seemed kind of boring. I logged in and I felt dumb because I just didn't understand how the controls worked, what the orbs were for, and then like Theo comes up, there's only one person. I don't know, I just didn't like it. I felt so overwhelmed by a game and there was no like pizzazz with it.
The first initial impression was the art. Obviously Mystic Messenger art is more anime style inspired, and this is not. It's kind of more humanoid, so that was something that I was like, this seems like a downgrade, because it wasn't humanoid in the sense of like, it wasn't high quality. It's just like kind of uncanny valley for me. And the other thing is they worked on this game since supposedly around 2017. We're now in 2022, it comes out, and the only character they have is Teo, or Teo. I'm not sure how to say it. I think it's Teo. It's just him, and it's just 200 days of content for him. So it's the chats daily for 200 days, and they're working on producing more days for him and more characters in the background. And they basically said, we need you to give us the money for the subscriptions and stuff for us to do that. Which is crazy to me, because they do make 6 figures a month still on Mystic Messenger alone. That's not counting Nameless and Dandelion on Steam. So, and I know they're a pretty small team. I don't claim to know everyone's financial situation, but this is public information, and I just don't see how 6 figures a month is not workable for you to create more characters. And you were making 7 figures a month back in the day, and you started in 2017, so it just seems like very, very odd. The next issue that people had is the translation is definitely a downgrade, particularly within the texts. I joined a Twitter Spaces led by Sailor Blurdy, and she was kind of saying that she believes that the reason the texts are lower quality translation than the calls is because it's on purpose. They're trying to do like text speech where you kind of text in an ungrammatical and like poor way. But I'm not so sure that I agree with that, just because, I don't know, I feel like Mystic Messenger didn't have the same issue. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, yeah, like I thought about that too. Like Mystic Messenger, you can have like the slang and the convos and the like way that they have the cadence that they talk, and it still be grammatically correct. I think that it was just not the same. I just don't think it was the same quality. I think, which is so insane to me, because it's like the same team should have been working on it. They have all of that, and they just kind of...
You saw that they said a different person was working on it, like one person translated or something?
Yeah, they said that only one person was doing the translation. So for 200 days worth of text message, that just seems unbelievably impossible. And you know, if you go through localizations, or if you're a localizer, it's actually, you don't get paid that much to begin with.
Yeah,
the
so they might have
does.
been kind of underpaid.
Don't.
And perhaps that reflected in their work. But yeah, definitely no shade to the translator at all. I think it would be 100% on Charities if it was not done well, because they've done it well in the past. So it's just odd that it's just this one. And the call sequences, people have said great things about those. They think that the voice actor is amazing, and the way that it's translated for the call sequences is very well done. So I guess that's a point for them. But I think the other problem is the game is very empty feeling. While they do try to fill it up with all these extra side things that are kind of confusing, like you were mentioning the orbs and the planets and all of those things, it just feels so empty in comparison to Mystic Messenger. Mystic Messenger kicks off with that dope-ass opening song, the opening movie. This had no opening movie. I believe that it does have one, but it's like you have to go in and find it in the app. It doesn't automatically play to invite you in, which is poor marketing in my opinion. Then also the chat with Teo that you just enter into is like a tech support kind of a chat. It's not very entertaining. Mystic Messenger, you get thrown into a chat with this whole cast of characters that has amazing chemistry. It was so fun. I remember I couldn't stop playing it when I first got it. And there's people who have given up on day 7, day 15. I think we're close to a month now. I think day 26 or something. And a lot of people have dropped off of the game. So I'm very curious to see if it's going to actually be able to expand.
Yeah, I think that they're just they felt that there was just going to be the success off of what Mystic was, and that was enough, and that's what got everybody to download it, and they didn't have to put any more effort. That's how it feels. Like I don't have to do. I know that everybody's going to buy it anyway, because a lot of people did. That's just the truth. They had no
marketing.
I saw a lot of tweets go in and saying like, I just bought the 3-month subscription and that was kind of it, and like, hell to the no. I'm not buying anything until I'm like, and not that that's fine. I've made very questionable purchases. I'm going to be very honest. I have not gotten past chapter 4 of the prologue of Bustafellas, so I regret buying this game. Like, I've never played more than about 20 minutes of the prologue of Cafe Enchanté, and I'm never going to play that game. Like, I have made questionable purchases, so I'm not saying that people don't make questionable purchases. I am one of those people. However,
but at the very least, those are high quality games with a full cast of characters and way more content for way less money. So
yes, thank you for being my defense counsel. But
yeah, you definitely didn't make too questionable of a purchase.
I will say that I would just warn against people, like, don't buy the subscription until like you probably got a little bit further in. I've just seen a lot of negative. I just think that there should have been a lot more to the game than there was for years in the making. And I'm saying indie developers are coming up with like 12 characters and all of these things, and if they can do it in the same time and the turnaround of like a year or two, charities could do the same thing because they have already done it in the past. You can see their track record. So if you go from Dandelion to Nameless to Mystic Messenger, and to see this, it just seems lazy that they were just banking on the fact of their own popularity, which is very clear from how this whole thing went. They don't have to try that more. And to say, it's insulting to say like, if you want more you have to pay for it. Like, then either A, make it a paid app so that there's more stuff in it, and then do that,
or
make it a console game, like do that,
invest in an advertising campaign and actually push the game instead of just relying on... I don't know if they were just embarrassed by the lack of content, so they're not pushing for an advertising campaign yet, but it's just very odd to me.
Yeah, because the game, like, Mystic Messenger still makes 6 figures, and you can go with the hourglass, model, and that's fine. Obviously, like, I wasn't the hugest fan of that, but I got through Yusung, Zen, Jumin, V, 707, and and the twin brother. So I've gone through 6 characters, so I've obviously spent a pretty penny on Mystic Messenger.
But it was still less because it's not just the subscription, it gets deeper and worse. So there's, first of all, subscription tiers. I don't have the exact numbers, but I know that I'm in the ballpark, and either way, even if it's $10 off or $5 off, it's still horrible. Like, you can spend upwards of like $35 a month on just the subscription to have like the most stuff, and then you can buy those items on top of it, like batteries and stuff like that, when you run out. Then you can buy this PQube plugin, like, which is the little AI bird thing that helps you out, which is like $50 or $60 that you could have bought on day one, that gets you even more stuff to go along with, but it only works if you also have a subscription. And then if you think Teo's responding too slow, you can pay $10 to shorten it from 10 minutes in between responses to 7 minutes, which is a complete ripoff. But it's just over, and it's like, give us money, give us money, give us money. And it's so insane. Like, it's the most microtransactions for the least amount of effort and content that I've ever seen.
They could have obviously just taken the UI that they had already had in Mystic Messenger and then just add and plugged in and changed a few things. So like an example of this is when I built Evermore, if I wanted to do another game in the same cadence and UI, it actually is not going to cost me more money it'll cost us to put it on servers and like artwork and stuff, but the UI itself, if we did it exactly the same style, we're not spending more money,
which they did. So they have the same like chat UI, so they didn't have to spend extra money. So it's even more crazy to me that they're asking for this.
Yeah, so that is the tea on that and how we're not going to play the Ssum. If you play it, if you like it, cool. If you don't, give us your comments on like your experience with it. Maybe explain it a little bit more to me, because I clearly don't understand some of it. I'm not going to engage in it. But that is my piece
to give it this week. Like a positive ender. I think that people like it because I like the functionality of the fact that somebody's chatting with you.
I like text. I would love a text. I've seen you play that text game. I like that. I like that idea.
Otome Chat Connection. Definitely check it out if you like the concept, but you want something way better and more cost effective.
Yeah, but I definitely will not indulge in the Ssum.
Yeah.
But now we can move into our last I can't even think of the word.
Our last
segment.
Topic,
I was trying to say subject.
Yeah, I guess segment works too. What we're currently playing. So this, would be so fun because we've been texting each other. Like, we're playing different games right now. Sometimes we play the same game at the same time, but we're in one of those vibes where we're playing completely different games, specifically Japanese games. So we thought it would be fun to like share with you guys our thoughts. Do you want to go first?
Yes, so I'm between 2 games, but I'm playing Uchino Prince-sama. Right now I'm playing Repeat Love on the Switch. So if you haven't heard a million times from me saying I'm a stan, I have every single game. So I have 2 of the games that are on the PSP. I have all of them on the Vita. And now they're coming and moving more to the Switch. So I have Repeat Love, Debut, All-Star on the Switch. I have Amazing Aria that I'm also playing, but I obviously have no control. What I like about Uchino Prince-sama games is that they're just light and fun. It helps me with my Japanese, and once I get in the cadence of it, there's the romance side to it, and obviously the game element. I like the rhythm game. I like the choices in it. They obviously have the effect to it. I love it. And then I'm also playing Hakuoki Sweet School Life.
That looks so fun.
If you are a fan of the Hakuoki series, you would probably like this. I was not a fan of the mainline games. I'm not really super into the Edo period games, but then you were with me when we just randomly found it, and I saw it on Amazon, and I was like, oh my god, what is this? I bought it, and I love the game. I love the all of that. So I like the modern time of it, so that's what I'll play. So yeah, that's what I'm playing.
Send me screenshots so that I can like put them and show you guys, because I love the text box in that. I love the little flip phone. The color scheme is like very you and I. Like we love blue and pink. So yeah, it's super fun. I'm playing a little bit of older games right now. So I have a 2DS, a Japanese 2DS, and it's backwards compatible so it can play DS games. And I bought 3 of them. So I bought TokiMeki Memorial Girls Side, second season. So there was the first one and the second one and the third one that are all on the DS. And the fourth one is actually for the Switch. But this one had the characters that I like the most. The characters look the most interesting. I'm currently going for the homeroom teacher. Surprise, surprise. He's super cute. He reminds me of Masaomi so much. Then I also got Angelique Duet, which is just the original Angelique game, only you can also play as your rival. So it's basically about a girl who gets sent up into the heavens, and she meets with the queen who's currently losing her powers, so they need to train up a new queen. So they have her and Rosalia, which is a girl from a wealthy family, and then you play as Angelique, who's just kind of a normal girl. And you guys can become friends during it. You can kind of try and attack each other's efforts. It's a lot of gameplay and like stat building. You kind of go meet with the different gods. All of the guys are guardians of different things, different zodiac signs. So they don't necessarily match the things that they're doing, but sometimes it does. Like Scorpio's god of dark, and then the Leo character is god of light, and you have them bring those different elements into these little cities that you're building up. And if you can successfully build up it's more like a planet. If you can build up your planet the best as compared to Rosalia, you will be the honor of queen, and then you can choose to rule by yourself. You can choose to rule with Rosalia as your assistant because you guys are good friends, or you can choose to like romance one of the characters. And this is like a piece of history. We're gonna play it together when she gets back in town, because it's the first Otome game, and the girl who made it is a boss babe. She had the first section of Koei that was all female developers and developing a game for the women's market. They called it a neo-romance game back in the day, not Otome game. But yeah, it basically spurred an entire genre of Otome. And then the last one I'm currently playing, I don't have a box for it because it was secondhand, of course, but I have like a little picture of it you can see on there. But it's Misupuri, which is Miss Princess, and it's also by Koei Tecmo. And it's basically aimed at a younger audience. So it's like an Otome game for a younger audience. So it's easy vocab if you're learning Japanese. And you basically are a girl who really wants to be in this Miss Princess contest. But it's the last year that you can do it. It's your last year of middle school. And you don't have money to do it because you need to have a butler. But you save this older woman from a purse snatcher. And she wants to thank you, so she allows you to utilize the butlers at the school that she works for. So yeah, I haven't gotten too much into that one yet, but those are the games. They're so fun.
Yeah, it sounds super fun, and yeah, we're gonna text about it, and then we'll probably have an update video of like everything that we've been playing again and just doing that. So yeah,
I want to say too, like about the games we're playing now, you may have noticed a theme. All of them have gameplay elements a little bit in it, except for maybe Sweet School Life. Does that one?
I don't know. I haven't gone far enough to know. I don't think so. Yes, it does. It has like the text and stuff in it.
Oh, it
so
has a little
like
stuff
to do.
Yeah. We just really like that. I kind of want to shout out here, take this opportunity, because one of the reasons we're doing this is to research for the revamp of Snow-Kissed Romance. And we definitely want to have gameplay elements in that. If you saw our interview with Blurdy Otome on Twitch, I will link it below if you haven't seen it. Definitely check it out. We go into a little bit more detail on our plans for that. But yeah, we made a Ko-Fi account to support the revamp and kind of pace it up because it's going to take us a long time to pay for all the assets on our own. But if you guys want to support and help out, it can hopefully get here sooner to you guys. We have a lot of great ideas for that. So yeah, check out our Ko-Fi link and consider purchasing us a little coffee. Ko-Fi.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
That is
for today
for
on
this
one.
episode. This is like a little bit of a shorter episode. It's like 40 minutes. But yeah, still podcast shorter for compared to our, how long was our Even If Tempest?
Even if it was like almost 2 hours, it's pretty long.
That was crazy. But our next one's going to be long too, because the one after this that you guys are going to be seeing is Dreamy Days in West Tokyo.
Yeah,
full boy rank.
We're finally getting to that one. We are trying to catch up on all of ours. But yeah, so please leave your comments below on how you feel about the PQube, the Ssum, as well as Arcana and what you've experienced. If you've played any of those games, other than the PQube, obviously. But if you've played Arcana, if you've played the Ssum and you have a different viewpoint, or if you have the same viewpoint, definitely comment below. Let us know your thoughts. We love talking to you guys. So yeah, I guess until next time.
Bye.
Bye.